Right, so this arrived. Fiverr has sent me a trophy. It says I've generated over $1 million in gross sales on their platform. Gross, that means before their 20% cut. So in real money, that's closer to £783,000 into my actual bank account. It's worth being clear about that. Now, by the logic of YouTube, this is where I should be grinning at the camera, playing confetti B-roll and telling you I made it. And look, I'm not going to pretend that $1 million is not genuinely significant, because it is. But I stared at this thing for about 20 seconds, and then I went and looked at some data that I probably should not have. Because something is happening to Fiverr, and the trophy in my hand and the numbers on my screen are telling two completely different stories. So, here is what this video actually is. By the end of it, you will know exactly what this platform looks like underneath the headline figures, what it means for anyone freelancing on it, and why I'm probably going to walk away from the thing that built my career. And because I think you'll actually find this useful, I'll also tell you about the second YouTube channel that I started on the side, the one that I've not really told many people about, the one that's just paid me $10,000 in a single month doing none of this. So stick around for that, because that's the part that really matters. Let me rewind to where this all started, because the number only means something if you know where it came from. 2019, I'm working full-time as a studio photographer, photographing clothes on mannequins for a clothing company, which just about pays the bills. My savings were depleting, and within a few months, I would probably have had to move back to my parents. I always wanted to do something with video, so I scraped together whatever I could. I borrowed my girlfriend's ancient beginner Nikon DSLR, and this thing could just about film in 1080p if it was having a good day. I spent my last 30 quid on the cheapest softbox I could find on Amazon, and I used a 25-year-old microphone that my dad had gifted to me. And the teleprompter, I made it out of a shoebox. Not metaphorically, cardboard. An afternoon of genuinely desperate engineering. The gadget that launched $1 million business was made out of a shoebox. So I posted my first gig on June 14th, 2019, and within a week I had my first order. First month, I earned £377 after Fiverr's cut. Year one, roughly 22,500. By 2021, 77,000. And in the peak year, 2023, somewhere around $197,000. Every single upgrade along the way. The Sony a6500, then the a6600, a proper teleprompter that wasn't made out of cardboard, and eventually the Canon EOS R8 5 years in, my first full-frame camera, which I'm using right now. All of it paid for the previous jobs. Reinvestment every single time. I ended up presenting for some pretty cool clients like Binance, Candy Crush, Harvard University, Mistplay, Gillette, and Visual Politik, a channel with over 1.4 million subscribers. And that is the version of this story that I would be perfectly happy to just keep telling. Honest journey, decent results, maybe useful for someone starting out. Except, I cannot, because something started changing, and I've been watching it happen in real time. Fiverr posted $430 million in revenue for 2025, up 10% year on year. Record margins. On the surface, a company doing fine. Except that's not the whole story. The part of Fiverr's revenue that actually reflects freelancer transactions, what they call marketplace revenue, declined 1.8% in 2025. Every single dollar of growth came from what they call services revenue. Seller Plus subscriptions, promoted gigs bits, Fiverr Go AI tools. Fiverr grew by charging its own sellers more, not by bringing in more buyers. Because the buyers are leaving. Fiverr peaked at 4.3 million active buyers in early 2023. By the end of 2024, 3.6 million. By December 2025, 3.1 million. That is 1.2 million buyers gone in roughly 2 years. 500,000 of them left in 2025 alone. Fiverr's defense is that the remaining buyers are spending more per order. And that is true. Average spend per buyer has risen from $262 to $342. Transactions over $1,000 grew 22.8%. But there is a mathematical ceiling to how long you can grow revenue from a shrinking base. Now, the take rate. When I joined in 2019, Fiverr captured 27.1% of platform transaction value. That's your 20% as a freelancer, the 5% they charge the seller, and probably some other little fee somewhere along the way. But here's the point. By 2024, that figure ended up being 32.3%. Now, add in Seller Plus subscriptions, promoted gigs bits, the 1% fee if you want your earnings before the 7-day clearing period. And some sellers are now paying an effective platform tax approaching 35 to 40 pence on every pound they earn. The name Fiverr comes from the original $5 gig. The platform now captures 32 cents of every dollar you earn. Absolutely inspired branding given the circumstances. The stock has its own view. Fiverr peaked at $336 per share in February 2021. It currently trades around $11. That is 96.6% decline from its peak. Over $11.5 billion in market cap. Just gone. Now, the algorithm change. February 2024, Fiverr implemented what sellers have described as the most significant algorithm overhaul in the platform's history. Search results were cut in half, from 20 visible gigs per page to 10. A new success score replaced the existing overnight ranking signals overnight. Top-rated sellers, people with years of verified 5-star reviews, reported impression drops of 80 to 90% in a single day. One voice actor, level 10 seller success score, perfect rating, watched their primary gig fall from 5,000 weekly impressions to 250. I've seen my own impressions bounce around in ways that bear no obvious relationship to how the work is going. What happened simultaneously? Fiverr launched Seller Plus subscriptions, Fiverr ads, services revenue from the seller-facing products grew 50.9%. Your organic ranking dropped. The solution they offered was to pay to get it back. Sellers paying more, fewer buyers, fewer visible slots, record margins. Fiverr has found a way to earn more from a shrinking platform by charging the people on it more. Sellers are the product now. And then there's Fiverr Go, launched February 2025. For $25 a month, you can train an AI on your own work portfolio, so clients can order AI-generated versions of your output without actually hiring you. For $29 a month, the AI handles your client communications for you. And I have to say, it does not work. I'll reserve judgment. CEO Mika Kaufman described this as, and I'm quoting directly, making freelancers irreplaceable, not obsolete. The product literally allows clients to get your output without ordering from you. But you are irreplaceable, apparently. Brilliant. In September 2025, Fiverr laid off 250 of its own employees, 10% of global staff, to go, quote, AI first. One set of workers got made redundant. The other set got charged $29 a month. Their 2024 ad campaign was called Nobody Cares the Musical.
Nobody cares that you use AI.
An entirely AI-generated musical made by a platform built on human creative work, telling the world that nobody cares whether you use AI. Creative Block noted that an ad praising AI, made by AI, is perhaps not the most obvious choice for a human-centered talent platform. And they were being generous. Now you might be thinking, okay, the platform has structural issues, but you're still making money on it. What are you actually worried about? That's a fair point. Let me show you the bit that genuinely keeps me up. In the studio tour that I posted back in 2024, I mentioned something almost in passing. I was walking around the space, showing you the acoustic panels on the wall, the ones that I built myself with my girlfriend's dad. And I said, and I quote, "You know, AI's taken over a little bit, and I'm not getting any voiceover work at all." That is actually the most important thing that I've said on this channel in 2 years. I had a voiceover service. In fact, me talking about that voiceover service is what grew this channel in the first place. It was established, it was reviewed, it was a consistent income, 5-star ratings across hundreds of orders. And then it stopped. Not gradually, not a slow decline that I could, adjust to. It just stopped. Because an AI voice costs a client essentially nothing. Mine cost them £50 minimum. The panels are still on the wall. I built those, and that was real time and real money. I just don't need to use them for voiceover anymore. What happened to my voiceover work is what the data says is happening across the entire freelance market. In February 2026, a paper was published on Archive, a website with a very obnoxious spelling, by the way, by researchers at Ramp, the expense management platform. They had access to actual firm-level spending data from thousands of companies, tracked from Q3 2021 through Q3 2025. Not survey data, not job posting analysis, real money, real companies. Freelance marketplace spending, Fiverr, Upwork, TopTal combined, fell from 0.66% of total company spend to 0.14%, nearly a five-fold decline. In that same window, spending on AI model providers went from essentially zero to 2.85%. More than half of the businesses that used freelance platforms in 2022 had stopped entirely by 2025. The companies that were the heaviest freelance spenders before ChatGPT, they moved to AI fastest. Their substitution ratio, £1 on freelancers replaced by 3 pence on AI. The same output for 97% less. And one more number worth sitting with here, Fiverr's stock has declined 96.6% from its peak. The Ramp Studies headline AI substitution figure is 97%. Two different datasets converging on the same number. That's not a coincidence. The most exposed categories are roughly what you'd expect. Corporate training videos, internal comms, multilingual localization, product walkthrough demos, FAQ content. Anything where the brief is, make a video that is clear, rather than make a video that persuades someone. Writing work on Upwork is already down 32% year on year. Entry-level project share fell 9%. Voice work, obviously, you're watching the evidence. Now, I'm not saying that Fiverr is dying tomorrow. I am still making money on the platform, but the shape of what makes money has shifted significantly. So let me tell you what I think is still worth doing, and also why I think the British thing is more useful than I ever gave it credit for. First thing to get clear, the video market itself is not shrinking, not even close. 91% of businesses now use video as a marketing tool, an all-time high per Wiseau's 2026 report. Global digital video ad spending was $191 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach $338 billion by 2030. AI is taking a large and growing slice of the cheap end of that market. The pie is also getting considerably bigger. Where you sit in it is the question. VSLs, so video sales letters, persuasion-heavy sales content, are experiencing a major revival right now, according to industry sources. The reason is simple. If a business is spending serious money on a sales video, they need it to convert. And close-up AI avatars still have real limitations. The uncanny valley in tight shots, restricted emotional range. AI has not yet managed the micro-expressions and the genuine warmth that audiences read as authentic versus synthetic. 77.9% of consumers say they trust video with a real human more than a video without. Founder-face content, personal brand video, premium and luxury brand work, these are resilient for the same reason. The entire point is that it is a specific, trusted human. Long-form YouTube presenting, which is where most of my energy now goes, builds a recognizable identity across hundreds of videos. That continuity is not something that you can replicate. Now, there is something that I've always known gave me an edge on the platform, and I've recently discovered it is backed by a slightly ridiculous amount of peer-reviewed research. My accent. In 2025, a survey of 1,003 Americans found that 42% rate the British accent as the most trustworthy of all accents. 46% found it the most appealing. A global study of 37,000 people across 30 countries placed British accents as the most attractive in the world. A peer-reviewed study in the Journal of Global Marketing found that a standard English accent outperformed local accents on spokesperson credibility, attitude toward the ad, attitude toward the brand, and purchase intentions. Effects strong enough to override country of origin, gender, and product involvement. Digiday ran an investigation into this. They quoted a marketing executive directly. As a Brit, you carry with you a prejudice of being probably smarter than you are. Yeah. Now, I did not earn this. I just grew up in England, but I will absolutely take it. The important point for this video, AI can clone a British accent, technically. Synthesia can give you RP English in about 30 seconds. What it cannot clone is the cultural trust signal, the irrational but empirically documented perception of credibility. There's also a structural defense that is harder to automate than any of this. Repeat clients. In the last 90 days, 68% of my income has come from repeat buyers. One client has placed 34 separate orders with me. My highest spending client on the platform has put in this much money through this many orders. And 55% of my orders came through direct inbox conversations, not gig search clicks. A client who already trusts you does not re-enter Fiverr's search results every time they need a video. They do not see the AI listing at $5 sitting behind mine at $150. They message me. You cannot automate that the way you can automate a task. Right, so let's try and wrap this up properly because I don't want to leave you with just a load of doom dressed up as analysis. Over the life of this business, Fiverr's 20% commission on roughly $1 million in growth revenue represents approximately £200,000 in fees paid to the platform. That money funded their infrastructure. And it turns out the AI features now being used to introduce competition to the very people who funded them. That's worth knowing. My Fiverr income has fallen from the $197 peak in 2023 to around $125 in 2025. 2026 actually looks a little bit more bleak. That is real decline. But my total business revenue has not collapsed because I built other things while the platform was still working. For starters, I have this channel. I also have a YouTube retainer that contributes over £5,000 a month. I've got additional direct client retainers on top of that. I've got Future Creator, the community that I run for people doing this kind of work. The video you're watching right now simultaneously demonstrates what I do, builds trust with a global audience, and generates inbound leads that cost Fiverr nothing, because there's no Fiverr in the middle. Now, this is not unique to me. Per the Freelancer Compass 2026 report, 56% of freelancers now acquire work through personal networks, up from 30% just a year ago. 78% of freelance projects are now driven by referrals. The shift off platform is real. It is accelerating, and the freelancers making it are commanding significantly higher rates. So what would I actually tell someone watching this? Keep using Fiverr. It is still the most efficient client acquisition tool available for a video presenter or creator starting out. Nothing else puts your profile in front of that volume of buyers. Use it. But niche toward the resilient end. Premium, persuasion-heavy, relationship-dependent work. VSLs, YouTube, branded content, high-stakes business communication. Leave the cheap, task-based, easily automated stuff to the tools that do it for pennies. Build something off the platform in parallel. A website, LinkedIn presence, a YouTube channel, a mailing list. Something that means if Fiverr's algorithm wipes your impressions overnight, which it demonstrably can, your business does not end with it. Treat every Fiverr client as a potential direct relationship. Serve them well enough that the next project comes without the platform in the middle. Now, I'm not saying to break the rules and ask them to work off platform. Just set up your website, LinkedIn, social media with the same usernames and branding as your Fiverr, just in case they decide to scout you out online. And do not depend on a platform that has structural incentives to replace you. That is not cynicism. That is just reading their financial filings. Fiverr made this career possible, and I'm genuinely grateful for that. Without it, there is no client list, no skills built at scale, no funding for the upgrades, no eventual presenting gig for Harvard University from a studio I own. All of that is true. What is also true is that the platform is structurally declining. Its AI pivot is not designed around sellers' long-term interests, and the smart move is to use it without depending on it. Both things are true at the same time. So here's what happens now. This channel, the one you are watching right now, has spent the last few years being a Fiverr channel. Tutorials, gig optimization, keyword research, all of it. And I'm done with that. Not because there's anything wrong with the people watching, because the niche itself is built on a platform I no longer believe in long term. And I'm not going to keep telling people to build their business on quicksand just because it gets me some views. Here is what this channel becomes from today. I am making videos for the people who actually show up on camera. Presenters, YouTubers, business owners building face-on-camera channels. Anyone whose job or whose dream job involves talking to a lens. 3 things specifically. 1, how to actually be good on camera. The delivery, the confidence, the bit nobody teaches you, because most YouTube advice is written by the people who hide behind a faceless channel. 2, how to make talking head videos that don't bore people. The editing, the production, the pacing, the craft of it. There are 200,000 people a month searching for this on YouTube, and almost nobody is teaching it properly. 3, how to turn presenting into a real business. Real client work, real money, off-platform. The bit that does not require Fiverr's permission and does not send 20% to anyone. Oh, and one more thing. While I've been quietly walking away from Fiverr, I've also been building something. I've built an app, actually. This, I promise you, is the best teleprompter app on the market for presenters and YouTubers. It scrolls with your voice, it's fully hands-free, none of that syncing nonsense that has made every other teleprompter app a nightmare to use. It's called SteadyQ, and it's on the App Store and Google Play in about 2 weeks from posting this video. If that sounds like something you would use, there's a link in the description to get notified when it launches. Now, about that second channel that I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not going to tell you what it is today, partly because the niche is genuinely small and I don't need 1,000 people copying it tomorrow, but mostly because what matters is not the topic. What matters is that I built it from zero in my spare time, on a platform I actually own a piece of, and last month it paid me more than $10,000. No clients, no revisions, no 20%, just videos. I will be breaking down the entire thing in a future video on this channel. Exactly how it works, how long it took, what I would do differently. So subscribe if you want that one when it lands. So that's where we are. The trophy is going to go on the shelf, the Fiverr chapter closes, and the actually interesting work starts now. And if you've been here since the early Fiverr tutorials, thank you so very much, genuinely. Stick around if any of this does sound useful to you. If it does not, I completely understand, and I hope this video was at least honest. Right, on to the next thing.